everybody, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of folks tuned in early today because they were wanting to get their drink on soon. It's time for happy hour. It's a long week, folks. I don't know what was going on, but it seems like the mojo was weird.
Yeah. Thank you guys for showing up early. Linda, Taper John, and Connie. Good to see you guys. Alan.
Yeah, he says he already needs a refill maybe on his G&T. That's the kind of week it was for me, too. So, well, welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, where we invite different guest artists to talk about music, and we listen to it together and answer your questions and enjoy a little happy hour together. My name is Mother Banjo, one of the hosts.
I am Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we're welcoming Art Stevenson from the band
Howdy.
Art Stevenson High Water from Wisconsin. It's so good to see you, Art.
Good to be on the show. Thank you.
Really good to see you, Art.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen you play.
Yeah, I miss you.
Yeah, well, and I don't know what you all are drinking out there. Some folks are posting. It looks like Joe from Minneapolis has a Jack Daniels happening. Of course, Alan has his G&T.
Going for it. Yeah.
And Art, what are you drinking over there in Wisconsin land?
This is 21. This is 21. It's from Central Waters. It's their 21st anniversary brew from a year ago. So I broke a bottle of 21 for you guys.
Oh, something special. Awesome.
Central Water is a great brewery.
Yeah.
Cheers. Well, I'm drinking one of my custom cocktails. For those of you who don't know, I have a Mother Banjo cocktail recipe book, and I have seasonal cocktails, which I've crafted for every season, and this is one of my fall ones called the Apple Picker. It has apple juice and whiskey and some cinnamon. It's delightful. So
that sounds
cheers.
Good. That sounds delicious. Oh, cheers. Yeah, I'm sticking with the apple theme too. I'm staying in Minneapolis. I got the Freewheeler cider from Sociable Cider Works here in Minneapolis. But before we go any further, we have a very special back catalog birthday to celebrate today. A huge supporter of our show, a Life of the Party Patreon patron, a banjo player, and a good friend to us all, Mr. Chris Jetner, is turning 60 years old. So I wanted everybody here on Back Catalog to wish Chris a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Chris.
Whoa, cheers, Chris.
Cheers to you.
Right,
if you're feeling it, wish Chris a happy birthday in the comments. I know he'd appreciate that. This is a tough year to celebrate that, those big milestone birthdays. And anyways, we're glad that you're here with us, Chris, and happy birthday.
Yeah. Oh, what's that sound? I haven't heard it in so long. Was it applause?
Yeah.
I'm. We haven't heard that in a long time, we only get to see the virtual clapping on the comments, but
I see that. Yeah. No. Yeah. Happy birthday from Linda and Alan and Penny.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Chris.
Chris. All right.
Excellent. Well, we are so excited about today's show. We're so happy to have Art Stevenson join us, and I know there's probably a lot of folks who are tuned in, especially in the Minnesota and upper Midwest bluegrass scene. I'm sure are familiar with your music, but for those who maybe aren't as familiar, Art, maybe you could share a little bit about your background and how you formed the band and what kind of led up to the record that we're going to talk about today.
Well, my band High Water came about in the early 1990s, and we sort of got our start in a tavern in Waupaca County. It was called Schmidt's Corners, and I started a Thursday night session there, where we just brought our guitars and picked, and if people wanted to sit in, they could, or if they wanted to have their own spot, they could. It was really an open mic, and we ended up staying there for 3 years. But very early on in the history of that jam session, Dale Reichert came walking in the door.
Dale.
Yeah, and so, I hadn't seen him in a long time. We'd worked in another band years before that. Well, anyway, he walked in, and this was just after a guy that had played with us briefly was leaving. And so Dale joined Stephanie and I, and we formed High Water as a trio back then. And, we worked in Schmidt's Corners for about 3 years, and at the end of that time, I put out our first record, which is just called Art Stevenson High Water. And I didn't really know what would happen, and I decided to call the band, with my name in front of it because I wasn't sure who was going to really stick with it,
Mm-hmm.
But it was going to be me and hopefully Stephanie and some other folks, Dale and who knows who, So it was a smart thing to do, I guess. We had a few changes along the way, but eventually Bruce King joined, and of course Dale is stuck with us all this time.
And
So,
Stephanie.
And Stephanie, she's been with us. So that was 1993. We've been together 27 years.
Wow.
And we've made several records, and the one that we're going to listen to today, Like a River, we're going to pick from that one, was really my first attempt at recording most of the project at home. And I really wanted to do that, so that I could work very, very hard on it without traveling to studios. And we made previous records in some very, very good studios. We had one in Iola we called it the Harrison Hilton, and actually I still have a key to the place. And the owner of the studio, J.R. Michaels, used to just let me drop in and stay overnight and stuff anytime I wanted, and record at my leisure without him being there. If he wasn't around, I'd just turn everything on and get to work. And he had these huge cabinets, these gigantic cabinet speakers. He had 2 or 3 different combinations of cabinets that we could use to listen to the mix. And it was just so good to listen in there. And of course he had a good room for singing in too, which was acoustically very good for that. And there weren't very many reflections from the walls and so on and so forth. You could play really loud in there and it would still record well. And I'm a loud singer, so it's challenging to do that well, But anyway, we recorded there. We recorded at Audio for the Arts down in Madison, who I still appreciate, of course. They still help me with mastering when I put out a record, even though I don't go down there to record anymore. They have an excellent mastering process down there, which I like to use. So, but this record, Like a River, I decided, well, I want to do this at home. That way, if I have a bad night in the studio and I'm paying, $75 an hour to sing and it's not working, my voice is bad or something, well, I might as well just do that at home, and just do it 80 takes, whatever,
You're ahead of the time, Art.
every day of the week until I get one I can live with, And so that's Like a River was the first record we really, really did that in. So we started buying stuff,
Yeah, and I noticed.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Art.
Well, I think by the time we got the record done, we actually had a few good preamps. I started doing the record with a VS 1824. It's a Roland standalone workstation, and I was just using the onboard preamps for that. And then I think Dale brought a preamp in, for the microphone to bring it up to a certain level before it goes into the recording deck. And this is all new stuff to me. It's like, oh, a preamp. Boy, did that make it sound different. Holy smokes. Here we go.
Yeah, I think people don't think about that with acoustic music, that in order to capture it accurately, you really do have to invest in these signal chains.
Yeah, you do. And you have to learn how to use them. It takes a long time to learn how to use them,
Excellent. Well, I noticed on this, we have a picture here of the personnel on this record, and you don't always travel with a fiddle player, but I do see a fiddle player here. Do you want to talk a little bit about how Gerald Evans got associated with this project?
Oh, we love Gerald. I met him when he was playing with traditional grass back at Bean Blossom in the 80s. Joe Mullins and his dad Moon, and Gerald was in the band too. And so I got to know him then. And I'm pretty sure the next time I saw him was at Mabatma, and
that's Minnesota Bluegrass organization, folks.
You remember Melvin Goins?
No.
Yeah. You remember Melvin Goins and his band?
I don't
remember when they played up there? Well, the next time I saw Gerald, he was on stage with Melvin, and I knew he was going to be there. But I walked up to the stage, and here he is involved with this stupid comedy show that they do. Melvin always did these crazy comedy routines, And so Gerald was in a dress, and and he's a big, burly, bearded, you know, ex Air Force. He was a wrestler in high school and could put you in a headlock if you said something wrong to him. And so here he is wearing a dress with Melvin Goins' band, and one of the other guys is chasing him around stage trying to get at him. And but so and the next time after that I saw Gerald, he was with Dave Evans, and they're not related. In fact, it's a little confusing because Gerald Evans Sr., Gerald's dad, also played with Dave Evans in River Bend. But anyway, it was just, we ended up doing a bunch of picking together and stuff, and I just loved his fiddle playing. He had this loud fiddle, just this screaming fiddle that actually was very hard to record for me. With my little bit of expertise, I really had to work hard at getting his fiddle to sound just right, because it just had this edge to it, just this volume. This one tone would just go, But we just love Gerald, and so we used him on two different projects. We used him on Like a River, and then on another one that I was helping a banjo playing friend of mine, John Hansen, do. So we used him on both of those.
Very cool. Well, he certainly adds a lot. I've seen your band over the years, and it's all the formations I've seen have been great. But I hadn't heard this album front to back, so listening to it and hearing the fiddle kind of intertwine with the music is great. And I think I would love for everybody to hear some music on this. Do you mind if we just jump right into the record?
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's Friday. I want to hear some bluegrass music. And so the first track that we have queued up here is "Daddy is a Railroad Man." Do you want to talk about that track at all before we listen, or after?
Sure. Yeah. I wrote it as I've always had a romance with trains. I've always liked to. When I was a little kid, I used to know every crossing. I lived in Stevens Point, which is a train town, and I knew where every crossing was based on the sound of the whistle as the trains were going out of town, whether they're going east or west. And when I was 15, I basically hopped a train because I was reading Woody Guthrie's Bound for Glory, and nice. He was hopping trains all over. So I jumped a train, and it's a good thing it didn't go very far, and a good thing I didn't get arrested for trespassing and stuff like that, when I did that. But anyway, I've always had this love affair with trains, and right now me and Stephanie live across the highway from a railroad track, and so we get to hear them go by in the middle of the night and blow the whistle. So anyway, that's why I wrote this. Hi, buddy. That's why I wrote this song.
Furry friend.
All right.
So
we got another extra special guest here. Who's that, Art?
That's Charlie.
Charlie. Welcome, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
All right. Well, folks, and one of the things I love about your music is that you play, bluegrass from your own experiences, and it really comes through. And I think that's the key to good bluegrass music. And you can hear that in songs like this. This is Art Stevenson in High Water. "Daddy is a Railroad Man" on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Daddy's a railroad man. My daddy's a railroad man. At night I see him on the evening train with a midnight lantern in his hand. My mama, she cries sometimes 'cause he's gone 10 days down the line. When he gets back with a pocket full of money, we're really gonna have a time. My daddy's a railroad man. My daddy's a railroad man. At night I see him on the evening train with a midnight lantern in his hand. I'll walk down the railroad track and I'll wait by the switchman's shack. I wave to the brakeman and the engineer just to see them waving back. My daddy's a railroad man. My daddy's a railroad man. At night I see him on the evening train with midnight won't be long. When he gets back, we'll be dancing in the kitchen, singing a railroad song. My daddy's a railroad man. My daddy's a railroad man. At night I see him on the evening train with midnight lantern in his hand. My daddy's a railroad man. My daddy's a railroad man. At night I see him on the evening train with midnight lantern in his hand.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Art Stevenson and High Water. Daddy is a Railroad Man. That's from their 2004 release, Like a River. Art Stevenson joining us today from neighboring Wisconsin on the Back Catalog Listening Party to talk about this record. And yeah, Linda McRae says, yeehaw. And I concur. And Linda knows what she's talking about because Linda is a great picker and songwriter herself. So great to have all of you on board today. And that now we have fulfilled our train quota for the show, which is important.
That's right.
We have to meet that every week. So
Good.
The banjo's taken care of this week.
Yeah, Banjo too. Yeah.
Hey, Derek. Look, Derek Johnson from Monroe Crossing came to say hello.
Hey, Derek, hello.
It's so good to have all of you join us today. And this feels like a nice little reunion because I know a lot of folks who are tuned into the Minnesota bluegrass scene get to see you a lot through the Minnesota Bluegrass and Old Time Music Association events and festivals. But with all of those gone this year, there's been a lot of folks we've been missing. Folks like you, Art. So we're happy to have you here.
Yeah. And Chris, a possible birthday present here for the birthday boy asks, is this record available for sale?
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah,
But
we
old school, yeah.
Right, yeah. I just have a website, and if you send me a check or if you send me a PayPal payment for the record, I'll just put it in the mail for you, and so I ship them out of the house here.
Awesome. And Chris, I'm betting that maybe he might send you a little birthday message, on that CD. I'm just guessing. I could be wrong.
And I tell you what, if I'm sure Art we talked to him before the show. He's going to sign it for you if you want it. Now's the time.
Yeah.
So send him up. I put in the comments. I put a link to both his PayPal and to his website. So you can go ahead and just purchase the album via his PayPal. Let him know your address, and I'm sure he'll send it right off to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sounding great. And, a few folks were commenting on how good it sounds, especially when you were talking about this being your first foray into recording, for home recording. And wow, it sounds amazing. You guys, did you mix it as well, or did you have someone else do that? Wow. Because I was going to say the bluegrass is a tough thing to get right, to get all those instruments and hear everything without anything taking over the rest. And it just sounds really top notch. So kudos, Art.
Oh, thanks. I listened to it on a lot of speakers, and I had some monitors that I was mixing them on, and I blew one side of them out. So I like it loud,
Too much banjo, perhaps?
I blew
Too
the
much
tweeter.
Dale?
I blew the tweeter, so it had to be the banjo.
Had to be Dale.
It's always the banjo.
It really is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to get back, to some semblance of normalcy. I've got some dates booked in 2021, and I can only just proceed hoping that they will happen, and including the Bluegrass and the Pines Festival. And we just hope for the best next year if we can somehow get through this emergency right now and move on. Boy, it'll make all of us so happy.
For those of you who don't know, Art Stevenson and High Water also play host to one of the best bluegrass festivals in the upper Midwest. It's called Bluegrass in the Pines. In normal years, it takes place around the last weekend of August. Yep. The band I play in the High 48s, it's by far our favorite festival experience. And the music is always top notch, but it's the people, it's the location, it's the vibe that these guys create. They really bring all kinds of just great energy to this festival. So mark your calendar for 2021. We'll just do it. If we all mark our calendar, we'll just will it into being.
Yes,
Bluegrass
we will.
in the Pines.
And by the way, Linda says Blue a Tweeter, good title for a song.
Yes.
That's true. There'll be some interesting songs that probably come out at this time of where a lot of us are stuck at home. And Art, do you? I know there's a few originals on this record, like that one we just heard. Do you find this a good time for writing when you're at home, or do you get inspired by being out on the road?
Actually, now that I've got nothing to do, my summer job just went up until late October, and now I'm laid off for a bit before things get busy again. This would be the best time for me to sit down and get to work as a creative artist, because I've got plenty of time to contemplate, and it's time to make the creative juices flow, I think, for all of us in this time, since we can't really go out and tour anyway. Yeah. You might as well write, you might as well pick, you might as well try to create music. If you can record it at home, you can do that, and just do the best you can under these circumstances, which ain't all bad, at least not for me and my wife Stephanie. We're doing okay.
Well, and it does help that you're living with one of your bandmates, because you can sing and play with someone else, which I know that like Tony and I miss our bandmates. I live with one of my bandmates too, but Tony has his kindergartner hasn't quite picked up. She hasn't picked up that fiddle yet. So
no, she's working on the zither, and my 8-year-old has got a melodica. So
nice.
He might be venturing into some other styles of music. But
good.
We're Banjo and melodica together at last.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask about was some of the covers on this record, because the next song we're going to listen to is one that you did not write. And is there, do you have any sort of, criteria for a song that you're like, yeah, that's one I want to cover? Or does it just have to be a song that you just love?
Well, let's see. Are we talking 400 Hogs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's going to feed them hogs?
400.
Yeah. Right. So I love Tom T. Hall. I mean, the storyteller, that's what they always called him. And so we always had Tom T. Hall playing around the house, or, we'd take a tape with us in the car and listen to it. So Stephanie learned 400 Hogs from Tom T. Hall's greatest hits. And it's a true story. I found out after talking to his wife, Dixie. And I was down at IBMA a number of years ago and didn't meet Tom T. Hall, but Dixie was there. And so I talked to her and asked her about the song. And she said, well, sure enough, that's true. She was in with Tom visiting a man who worked with them in the music business. But the next bed over, there was this old farmer who was very upset about being laid up in the hospital and neglecting his farm. And, my wife can't do the chores and my neighbors won't help. And I got 400 hogs to feed. What am I going to do? We went on and on and on. And so, of course, Tom T wrote it down. And so it's, that's the life right there. That's fodder for a song. And so Stephanie learned it.
And you guys live out on some property, right? I mean, you're not in the city proper, right? Do you have any animals on your property?
We got poultry, and we're set up for rabbits. We're taking a break. We're taking a break from rabbits, but we have poultry. We have turkeys and chickens, and I'm still gardening. I raise my own food for me and Stephanie, and I just put in 240 garlic bulbs today.
Wow.
Because it's still warm out. The ground's still workable, so might as well just keep on putting in garlic. I got 1,200 in total over the fall.
So vampires beware. You don't want to go near Art Stevenson's property.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
but it's still like when I hear songs like you guys doing songs like this, even it's a believable Wisconsin bluegrass song as well. So and it's a good one too. This is Art Stevenson in High Water. Who's gonna feed them hogs on the back catalog listening party?
About a year ago, why I still remember him, I guess I'll never know. He'd lie there, cry out in a medicated fog. Here I am in this dang bed, and who's gonna feed them hogs? 400 hogs, they just standing out there. My wife can't feed them and my neighbors don't care. They can't get out and roam around like my old husband dogs. Here I am in this dang bed, and who's gonna feed them hogs? His way was hogs, his nature was tough. Doctors tried to tell him that he may not live at all, but all he ever talked about was who's gonna feed them hogs. 400 hogs, they just standing out there. My wife can't feed them and my neighbors don't care. They can't get out and roam around like my old hunting dogs. Here I am in this dang bed, and who's gonna feed them hogs? 400 hogs comes with 800 hens. That's a lot of money for a hog-raising man. 400 hogs comes to 1,600 feet. Market's up and there are people waiting on that meat. Well, the doctors say they do not know what to save the man from death, but in a few days he put on his overalls and he left. That's all there is to this here song, the waitress, before you leave. Would you bring me some coffee and a hot ham sandwich, please? 400 hogs, they just standing out there. My wife can't feed them and my neighbors don't care. They can't get out and roam around like my old hunting dogs. Here I am in this dang bed, and who's gonna feed them hogs? Well, here I am in this dang bed, and who's gonna feed them hogs?
Oh, yeah, that was Art Stevenson and High Water covering Tom T. Hall's Who's Gonna Feed Them Hogs. That's from their 2004 release, Like a River, which we are enjoying today on the Back Catalog Listening Party, where we meet every week for a musical happy hour and invite guests to join us to dig into an old record. We listen to it together, answer your questions. And if you have questions for Art as we go throughout the show or other comments, feel free to throw them in the comments, and we'll try and answer all of them if we can. I see that Anne has joined us as well. So hi, Anne. And one of the things that I was really struck when I listened to this whole record and when I've heard you play live before, Art, is something that actually Tony mentioned earlier, which is just that you guys have a real authenticity to everything you do, whether it's an original song or whether it's a cover like the one we just heard. It never feels forced. You know, sometimes you hear, you know, I don't know, folks from the Northland like us, you know, trying to, you know, be like we're from Appalachia, and we're not. You know, we live here, and I love that everything you do sounds exactly like what I'd expect a bluegrass musician from Wisconsin to sound like.
You could have written most of the songs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. I guess it's just a wise choice that you make when you pull in a song. And you know what we were doing? We were playing as a house band, as I said, at Schmidt's Corners. And then my friend Todd is on the guest list here, and he mentioned the Green Room down in Madison. And John Fabke and I ran another open mic type thing, which was bluegrass based down there in the 1990s. And Stephanie was involved, and Dale came down every now and then. And so we were always trying out these new songs. And so, you know, you try out a song like Tom T. Hall's 400 Hogs, and the audience keeps looking at you and they're like, well, that's a good one. Sing it again next week and stuff like that. And, you know, they kind of just reinforce what you're thinking already. It's like, well, that's a good number right there. And the audience wants us to do it again, you know, and we get requests for it every week. We were working really hard back then, you know, those weekly open mics plus the weekend traveling and everything. Uh, at that time, we were doing about 100 dates a year. I don't really know how we did it. How we had the energy to do that. We've always been pursuing multiple streams in order to make our livings. And so we all have jobs. So how do you do 100 dates a year? I'm 63 years old now, so it's amazing to me that I was able to do that back then. But anyway, that's how you get the material. You just work it out with the audience, and you play it for them every week and see what they dance to or see what they don't pay attention to. And
yeah, it's a great market research group.
Yeah. We call it road testing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And we have a question from Alan down in Texas. He says, "This takes me back. Ever played the Clear Creek Music Festival, Indiana bluegrass scene in the 70s?"
No, not that particular one. We've played Kendallville, actually fairly recently. We were going down to Kendallville every 2 or 3 years there for a long time. I played Bean Blossom. I played the festival in Martinsville, that was years ago. That was a big one down in south of Indianapolis there. But yeah, I miss my Indiana friends.
Oh.
Yeah, we miss all of our friends.
We sure do.
I don't even get to see Tony lives like a few miles from me, and we haven't even seen each other since March. Probably,
no,
right?
Yeah.
Since the Winter Bluegrass weekend, I guess. But
and speaking of such things, I put it in the comments. I scrolled it across the screen, but Art is his summer job is done. He's home. He wants he's writing music. He's preparing for the next leg of this journey, and artists like Art Stevenson and his band, they rely on fans and venues and places that we just can't access right now. So if you're listening to this, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, toss a little something in Art's tip jar. And I put it on the screen. It's in the comments. Every little bit really, really helps, not only him financially, but I think encouraging folks like Art to let him know that we appreciate the music that he's putting out there and want to hear more.
That's right.
Yeah,
and since he
you.
doesn't have the access to, those open mics he was talking about, we have to be his sounding board and his market research group. So positive reinforcement for the songs that you're hearing right now.
Yeah.
And,
thank you.
And so let's we want to get through as many of these songs as possible because they're so good, and we all need the music this week. Apparently,
yes,
that's what
extra
everyone's
bluegrass.
telling us. And bonus bluegrass this week. So this next track we wanted to dig into that you wanted to dig into is Texas Blue Bonnet. Is there anything you want to say about this before we dig in?
Well, yeah, we've all been really strong Bill Monroe students, and scholars. I guess I'd call Bruce King a scholar of Bill Monroe, since he can play 40 or 50 different Bill Monroe compositions or mandolin instrumentals that Bill was noted for playing without stopping for a break. He knows that many of them, and so we picked one of them for the record, the Like a River record, Texas Blue Bonnet. And my understanding is that Bill named the number on tour as he looked out the window down there in Texas of his bus. The Texas Blue Bonnets were in bloom. My understanding is that they're a form of lupin, which we have up here, but down in Texas they call them the Blue Bonnet. So anyway, Bill's noodling around on this mandolin, instrumental on the bus, and the Bluegrass boys are talking to him, and, well, what's the name of this one, sir? And he's like, well, let's call it the Texas Blue Bonnets then.
Awesome. Maybe you can tell the Northern White Cloud story next. All right, a little inside baseball. All right, well, folks, this is as bluegrass as it gets. It comes right from the father of bluegrass music himself, Bill Monroe, as translated by some of the best in the business doing that traditional bluegrass. Art Stevenson and High Water doing Bill Monroe's Texas Blue Bonnet on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Woo! Yeah.
Ah,
Woo!
whoa. Oh, man. That did everything I needed it to do. That was a Texas Blue Bonnet, a Bill Monroe tune as done by Art Stevenson and High Water on their 2004 release, Like a River. Art Stevenson joining us today on Back Catalog Listening Party. And yeah, exactly. You can't sit still to that. That's very true. And folks loving that. And
see what I mean by
Yeah.
scholar?
yeah.
Dale.
He's
I have to say that listening to that, I got tired and I wasn't playing or doing anything. I'm just sitting here having a drink, and I was like, wow, I feel exhausted.
Well, I was thinking while I was listening to this that, I think it was going to your festival, Art, year after year that brought so many Bill Monroe instrumentals to the High 48s. I remember learning Road to Columbus and Old Dangerfield and so many other tunes, listening to you and Dale and Bruce pick those. What's that one? Oh, where's that one come from? And not only do you know the music, and can play it note for note, but the stories behind it, which always give it so much, more meaning. So,
it's such
fantastic.
great music. Such great,
Yeah.
the ancient tones. He used to talk about the ancient tones in the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So Bill is, I don't know, between Bill Monroe and Ralph Stanley, those two guys are the ones I always look to for inspiration. I still do. I've been listening to them since I was in college, and I still get my inspiration from Stanley Brothers and, of course, Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and then anybody else that comes close to them. So I love it all.
Wonderful. And it sounds like Alan, who lives again in Dallas area, he says, sounds like I-45 just north of Houston. Blue Bonnets run riot there. So he knows what that inspired that tune for sure. And I was actually interested in this because the cover of the album, of course, is a beautiful shot of a fall shot of a river, and that song, of course, we just heard the Bill Monroe tune, Texas Blue Bonnet, and then the next song we're going to listen to is the title track, Like a River. And it sounds like you're often very inspired by your surroundings, whether it's a train going through your town or the river going by or all of that. Is there, first of all, what's on the cover? Is this a river near where you live?
Oh, yes, that's the Wisconsin River. That's barely out of the Stevens Point city limits, south of the city on the river. It's just gorgeous down there. And so I just snapped a picture of that for the album cover myself on a nice fall day. And I love fishing in it. I love boating on the river. And as far as natural beauty goes, I mean, this is one of the things I turn to for inspiration, especially in times like this. When you're locked down and you can't go visit the people you want, or you can't go play the gigs that you want to play, just try to get out there, even if it's just your backyard, and enjoy the beauty of nature. It's like going to church. At least it is for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know about you, Art, but I also find that being outside is not only good for my blood pressure and good for my body to get some exercise, but it's also great for, again, creative thinking and coming up with melodies and song ideas. I find when I'm outside.
And I almost feel like bluegrass, bluegrass music in particular, it's its natural habitat. Like bluegrass sounds fine in a theater. It sounds fine in, like in a club, but outside in a tent, outside without a tent, outside, bluegrass takes on something. I mean, it's like all the organicness of the music mixes and matches with all the, the wonderful beauty and the people. And, I think that like, that's where bluegrass comes alive. And for anybody who's interested, on our Facebook post or on our Facebook page, I'm going to post a little shot I took of Art's festival a couple years back, where people were in the tent and Art and the band just blew my socks off with the great gospel number. But to me, that kind of shows the kind of energy that happens outside. I don't know what it is, but there's something about nature and acoustic instruments. Does it for me.
Just shut your eyes when you're picking and singing and think about mountains, think about the woods. I used to do that when I was playing the bars. If I didn't like what I was seeing out there in the crowd, I'd just shut my eyes and think of a cornfield or think of a beautiful scene somewhere, and then the song would come right out.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's a great segue for this title track. I'd say, Like a River. This is kind of that's like my happy place as being someone up here in the Upper Midwest. The river is my happy place, and listening to songs like Art Stevenson and High Water, Like a River. It's also my happy place here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
It's high on a mountain, the warm winds are blowing, the weather winds are blowing too. Ain't no wind, no wind. The mountain grass is sure, it's dry and close to burning, crying out for water as the season's turning. Sweet smell the pines, tall western cedar, drifting down the wind through the mountains like a river. I've been too long away from his wide open skies on the concrete trails of wine, through the canyons dark and wide, with sounds of people talking and words of blue and gray, smells of doors and windows closed against the day. Sweet smell the pines, tall western cedar, drifting down the wind through the mountains like a river. Now the dust lies thick and heavy where my feet are falling, there's nothing but the sound of jaybirds calling. My mind goes dry and thirsty, the memories linger, drifting down the wind through the mountains like a river. Sweet smell the pines, tall western cedar, drifting down the wind through the mountains like a river. Sweet smell the pines, tall western cedar, drifting down the wind through the mountains like a river.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, some sweet harmonies on that. In fact, someone
So
had
good.
earlier had asked if we would get to hear Art doing harmonies, and man, we heard it on that track. That was Like a River, a Kate Wolf song, as done by Art Stevenson High Water. Stephanie, of course, on the lead vocals on that track, and that's one of my. I'm a big Kate Wolf fan, and that is a really nice rendition of that
Really good.
song.
Really
and,
good.
Thank you.
So do you ever argue with, obviously Stephanie's your wife, she plays in your band, you have to live together. Do you ever argue about who gets to sing lead on a song?
No, not really. Actually, we're fighting on one right now. It's funny you should ask. I was just going to say no. We never argue, but we're actually fighting on one right now.
So we'll have to we'll have to listen a little bit down the road and see what if who wins on that one. But
I think I got a pretty good arrangement going on it, but I'm having trouble with her turning loose of this vocal part that she wants to do that I want.
You two harmonize together
So beautifully.
in a way that I usually only hear from, kind of blood relatives. Can you just
siblings.
tell
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit of your history with Stephanie and how those harmonies kind of came to be, or how you discovered that chemistry? Because I'll say that, this is a little aside. when I first got into bluegrass music, I had a hard time with some of that traditional stuff. The high lonesome sound was a little too high and lonesome for me.
Sure.
But I went to this festival, and it was probably the early 2000s. It was called Prairie Grass. It was in in Harmony Park, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not into this traditional stuff, and I saw you guys. It was the first time I ever saw you play, and you two singing together. I think the rest of the band maybe walked off stage, and the two of you sang a song together, and it absolutely blew my mind. I was like, that is something so special. And after hearing that, I realized where it came from in bluegrass, and it helped me kind of down that path to understanding how harmony and that kind of singing is such a big part of traditional bluegrass. But you and Stephanie in particular have a real chemistry. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys got together and how that happened?
Well, sure. The first song we ever sang together was the Silver Dagger. Do you know how that one goes?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an old timer, and it's just got screaming highs and lows, and it's really rangy and goes all over the place. And so we learned the Silver Dagger as our first number when we were dating. And
it's also a very ominous song, by the way.
If you can survive that song,
yeah.
you can get married and live a happy life together.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to have to learn to sing it again. It's been years since we've tried it. But
now you're going to get requests, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But she, when I first met her, she got a job with the Department of Natural Resources, and she was doing land use surveys, and all she was doing was driving around looking at these big fields. Some of them were agriculture, and some, and anyway, she had nothing to do but drive around and listen to music all day. So I loaded her up with Stanley Brothers and all these other great duets. And she was interested in playing music with me, professionally. And, which is why she took up the bass too, because we could never get a steady bass player back then. We always were between bass players. So she learned how to sing those parts. It's hard, but mm-hmm. she learned to sing those parts, the same way I did, which was just studying these singers in bluegrass for years and years, and driving around in the car and matching the parts. You just take Ralph's part and you sing, and you try to figure out what Ralph's doing, or who was singing tenor in the Country Gazette, or who was singing tenor in the Country Gentleman. You just try to match their part, and eventually you work it out at home together. And we used to
go ahead.
Well, we used to. There's this thing that happens when the harmony's right, and it's like a bell going off. Do you know what I'm talking
mm-hmm.
about? It rings. It rings, and so then we knew we were doing something right.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe that's the correlation with like why families sound so good, is because you can do it on paper all you want, but it's really, driving in the truck, doing your land surveys, or sitting at home in your living room trying it over and over and over again. When you hear it, when that bell rings, it. And anyways, you guys, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate hearing that.
And her family's super talented too. They all sing. I remember going down to meet some of her family in Texas. They're from Austin. And the first time I met them, we stayed out at their house, and they actually got out the hymn book and sang some quartets and things. It was just beautiful. And her brother Sean, liked my harmonica playing. And you know how I play harmonica. I can play fiddle tunes, right?
Really well.
So here's Sean, and within a year he could outplay me. I mean, that's how good her family is. They have this knack, So that's where she comes from, It's been such a pleasure to sing with her and be married to her.
That's awesome.
And I have to say that song is such a beautiful rendition of a great Kate Wolf song. And Kate Wolf, a great folk singer-songwriter, left us soon. But again, a lot of her songs have been adapted to the bluegrass format because they lend themselves so well to that beautiful harmony singing. And I this is a good opportunity to mention, since I am a huge Kate Wolf fan, play her a lot on my radio show, and I've played, but I'm not the only DJ on this show today. Art, you also host a radio show. Now that you have a little more time in your hands, you're back on the airwaves at WORT in Madison, and tell us a little bit about your show.
Well, Bill Malone, who ended up helping on the Ken Burns Country Music Series as a consultant on there. He used to host Back to the Country on WRT. He did it for 23 years, but Bill's in his middle 80s, and he and his wife Bobby wanted to move back to Texas. So off they went, and the show was up for grabs, and I was afraid it was just not going to be run well. And I like, no, let's not lose this, And at first I was reluctant to get involved, but then I thought, oh, geez. And I just put in, I said, yes, I want to do the show at least once a month. It's once a week, but I'm doing it once a month. And we have 4 weeks of rotating hosts, and they're all just, devoted to keeping the show alive, including Bobby and Bill, who are dialing in their work from San Antonio. But I do the 3rd Wednesday of the month, Back to the Country with Art Stevenson. So I'm just so happy to be involved with that show. And I haven't done radio in 30 years, so it's a joy to be involved again.
And what kind of stuff can we expect on your show?
Well, a mixture. I like classic country, and I like bluegrass, so I'll play that. And then, of course, alt country, roots music that country music came from, like Gid Tanner and the Skillet Lickers and stuff like that. So it's
Nice.
always a mixture. There's usually a theme, and it's I'm just so tickled to death to be doing that show on the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
And folks who aren't in Madison can stream it. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. In fact, you can stream the archive too. You don't have to stream it live, but we invite you to stream or tune in wherever you are to WRT-FM.
Wonderful.
Nice,
Well,
nice.
I will be tuning in for sure. WORT is a great radio station, been very supportive of all kinds of independent artists, including myself, and I'm sure Tony as well. So it's a great station and one of the great public radio stations. So definitely support that. And we have one more tune that I think we have time for, so we want to make sure we get there. This is Sawmill Town, one of the other originals on this record. Is there anything you want to say about it before we play it?
Sure. Yeah. I'm a Scotty boy from Wisconsin here.
Through and through.
And, I grew up in a river town, Stevens Point. Every river town in Wisconsin had a big old sawmill on it in the beginning, when they were cutting off the big trees and stuff. And so I wrote this song for all the Wisconsin towns that had sawmills in them. It's called Sawmill Town.
All right. Sawmill Town, Art Stevenson and High Water on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
I'm living in a sawmill town. I'm working till the sun goes down. Draw my pay on Friday, but I'm broke by Monday morning. See my lady on a Saturday night while the moon is shining bright. And I'll live here till I die just to share as you're born. I was born in a sawmill town on the banks of the river. Daddy built a house down by the railroad line. Yeah, the winters are long and the cold nights made me shiver. But I wake up every morning to the sawmill whistle whine. I'm living in a sawmill town. I'm working till the sun goes down. Draw my pay on Friday, but I'm broke by Monday morning. See my baby on a Saturday night while the moon is shining bright. And I'll live here till I die just to share as you're born. After 10 hours of cutting trees for the sawmill stockyard, throw my tools in the truck and I head on back to town. Every day seems just the same and the work is so hard, but I know I'm gonna see my baby when the sun goes down. I'm living in a sawmill town. I'm working till the sun goes down. Draw my pay on Friday, but I'm broke by Monday morning. See my baby on a Saturday night while the moon is shining bright. And I
Well, the birthday boy Chris was right. It's burnin', and yeah, Art Stevenson and High Water, an original from their 2004 release, Like a River. That was Sawmill Town, and the
That's one of
second
my
train
faves.
song on the album, and it's so great. And again, you can order this album through. It's only available through Art Stevenson and High Water through their website, highwatermusic.com, and you can PayPal him or send him a check, and he will put the CD in the mail to you, maybe even sign it if you want that. And it's man, it sounds great on the headphones.
Sounds
You want
really
to get it in
great,
stereo, so for sure you can do that. And Art, this has been so much fun to chat with you today and dig into this record. So fun.
Well, thank you for having me. This is the highlight of my week.
It's the highlight of our
Us
week
too.
every week.
Yeah, Art, this is it. This is what it's all about. And, thank all of you. There's a lot of people in the comments just saying, Taper John said, thanks for putting a smile on our faces. And I tell you what, you guys showing up and being here is putting a smile on our faces, and listening to music together. Even though we have to be so far apart, it really
Brings
is
us a
good for
little
the
closer.
soul.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we should mention, if you're new to the show, we do this every week from 4 to 5 p.m. Central Time, broadcasting from Minneapolis, bringing in guests from all over the world to dig into old records. We listen to them together, and if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Give it a thumbs up.
Yep.
YouTube likes it when
Likes.
they like the likes. So, at least if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. YouTube will take that information and spread the word so more people can hear Art.
That's right.
And the High Water Band.
And you can share the episode with your friends. It will be available to listen to again and share with your friends. And of course, you can like us on Facebook and so you can stay connected to us and we can give you updates about when Art Stevenson has new projects, and also, of course, find out about future shows. And,
right. And who won the battle between he and Stephanie on this next song?
Exactly.
We're all waiting.
We will report. If they tell us, we will report to you back there. And also, we want to thank all our Patreon supporters. These are folks that give a little money every month to keep this show going. And as we expand to more platforms, Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, and Joe, and our birthday boy, Chris. And thank you so much. Yeah, that's right. We need that applause. And if you are interested in supporting the show, you can find, again, that link is scrolling on the bottom of the page. And we should mention that we have a couple cool things coming up for our Patreon supporters. We have an after party after next week's show with our guest, Katie Dahl, actually another Wisconsin musician, really great songwriter. Topped the folk radio charts. She's really great. So she'll be our guest next week, hanging out for the after party. And then in December, we're gonna have a holiday virtual party for all the Patreon supporters. So if you want to get in on that, join us there.
I'd love to have you.
But mainly, we just want to see you here every Friday at 4. So thank you for joining us. And this has been such
and
a
thanks
treat.
again, Art Stevenson. Oh man, go check out Art's radio show. He'll keep us going on Wednesday nights. Then on Fridays, you can come hang out with us, and together we're going to get through this. And next August, hopefully, we'll see all of you in Rushall, Wisconsin, for the Bluegrass and the Pines 2021.
Yes.
That's what we hope.
Yeah, well, have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll see you back next Friday for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party. Cheers.
All right, cheers. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.